Honkai Star Rail Anomaly Arbitration version 3.7 team guides. So to summarize quickly, of the 3 knights, Knight 1 is the annoying one with the crowd controls, but it's also the easiest. It's like a mini version of Pure Fictions with the debuffs not affecting most teams that aren't Super Break. I would recommend you do this battle last because it's the easiest of the 3. Knight 2 is the hardest of the 3 at low investments, with the delay and energy reduction debuff actually affecting all units in the games except for 2 archetypes being Castris and Phynon, and it's genuinely very annoying to play against. I'll recommend you do this knight first and use all your resources on this. It's another break debuff knight that you can also brute force with corresponding weakness types, and it's not as mandatory as the dinosaurs in 3.6, although the monkey boss is significantly harder than the puppets. Also, Checkmate is the weekly boss Aquilla. Once again, in Anomaly Arbitration, you don't need 9 stars, you get flat attack, flat HP, and flat defense for your relic raisins, so you could safely get 3 stars and then do the boss. Also, most of the testing I did is with E0 units, whether with S0 or S1, so if you have any vertical investments like Eidolons, these fights will be easier than what I described. Also, I did not test most 1.x DPSs because I just assume they're not very good, but you can prove me wrong in the comments below. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing. I'm making videos for fun, but I just find bigger number means bigger neuron activation or something. Thank you. With the summary done, here's the teams you could use to beat Anomaly Arbitration version 3.7. Knight 1. Enemy advances after being hit 6 times. This debuff is completely ignored by 95% of the units in this game, assuming you have a sustain with cleanses or effect rest boost, with dot and HP consuming units actually benefiting from the debuff, and most units appreciate some free energy from enemies being advanced, although you need to watch out for the stuns. Anything that does well in Pure Fiction right now could clear the stage. The only team archetype that is ruined by this is Super Break. Firefly in particular suffers from enemies not having fire weaknesses, and since this fight is mostly AoE, Boothill and the other hunt units can struggle against this if you don't use Tribi, just like your typical Pure Fiction runs. I cleared this with E0 Face Shout with E0 supports, and E0 Scylla with E1 supports, because normal enemies now have 300k HP, so they could cleanly lift Scylla's buffed ult, which is crazy. So I think you can see how easy this stage is with a bit of AoE help. Also a reminder that this is the easiest of the 3, so if you have a lot of AoE, you should do this one last. Knight 2. Knight 2 continues to be the worst one in both AAs if you don't have the shield for units. Enemies delay you by 5 or 10% when they attack, and you lose energy if you deal an attack. I did a lot of testing on this stage and it absolutely sucked. At E0 S1 investments, you're guaranteed to get hit and delayed by both waves, losing up to 1 to 2 actions per unit on top of losing energy. Speed tuning with -1 speed Sunday or Bronya is a mess here if your carry gets delayed. This also really hurts teams that benefit from multiple actions like Face Shout, Aquilla, Dot, Saber Break, and Super Break. Youngli should theoretically be good here, but losing energy and missing out on ults just didn't feel great to me, so I didn't really test her. The snake does AoE counterattack if you attack it during its defensive state, up to 5 times, meaning 25 to 50% action loss. However, if you don't hit it, it does massive AoE damage to your team later, not to mention the wolves also attacks and advances itself. Hule attacks frequently and does it 2 times per turn, so getting hit is more actions lost. So what are the teams for this? Phynon ignores both effects being immune to delay in his god mode, all enemies being physical weak helps. While Castris can summon Pollux out of turn, it does not care about being delayed. These 2 are the only 2 that I could clear with E0 S0 units so far. Other than that, Robin can also help your allies advance to mitigate the delays, but this is only for 1 time per ult. Brute forcing options includes Anaxa can stun enemies and reduce the amount of delays they deal, and he also pairs very well with Cyrene, giving him action advance to mitigate the delays and breaking Hule super fast with his skills. However, if you do this as E0 S1, with Hyacine you won't be able to have the damage to break the stage fast enough, and if you do this sustainless, it will be an RNG fest with survivability, with Ceridra, RMC, Cypher, and Axa being frail attack scalers. Also, SP management in this team is a nightmare without Ceridra's Light Cone or Thirda's Light Cone on Anaxa. Other than that, Archer E0 S1 with E0 supports came very close, but even with Sparkle, SP was a real problem. And also, Silverwolf's Quantum Weakness implant didn't stick, so I lost out on a lot of damage for the Genius Quantum set. If you have Archer E1 or E2, I can imagine this stage being way easier. Boot Hill Sustainless with E1S1 Few, E0S1 Sunday, and E0S1 May. You can break the snakes so you can reduce the amount of hit it does, and also all enemies are weak to physical damage except for that one wolf. This is also an RG fest for if your Boot Hill could survive a 1v1 versus Hule. I tried this with Lingsha, but giving up on Sunday or Fugue means I didn't break fast enough and end up getting delayed a lot. Night 3. 30% damage reduction, reduced by 15% up to 2 times when toughness is reduced to 0. This debuff is not that bad, but it's the monkey boss, so that's a huge problem for hunt units. No need to say much about Ron May and Fugue being good here. When comparing Rappa versus Firefly, Firefly could clear the first wave faster, but struggles to kill the boss. The opposite is said for Rappa. Himiko maybe? I have not tested her yet. I got a video of E0S0 Rappa clearing this with Sustainless, so check it out if you want. Other than that, Herta can demolish the stage because it's an AoE fight and it's also weak to ice, so you don't even need an accent to support to apply ice weakness anyways. Finon can apply his own physical weakness, while Castris and Evernight are basically 2 erudition units. Brute forcing options include units with AoE like Acheron, DOT, or Saber. Funny story, someone asked me to try out E6S1 Saber, RMC E1 Tribi, and Danheng PT for Night 3. And I gotta say, Saber does not need Tribi for her to clear if she had E6. For the Checkmate, once again, you don't really need to care for this boss other than 1 star for the dice. The boss is not harder than LYGUS. You don't need to fight those annoying lions and Pegasus. And the debuffs are as follows. 50% crit damage boost to all allies, increased HP when using the heal in phase 3. The second buff is basic skill ult damage will be increased by 80% and increased attack by 2000 when using heal in phase 3. The third buff is DOT rest pen increased by a whopping 40% and 30% increased speed when you're using heal in the phase 3. This is for dots, no questions asked. Obviously, pick the units that gets the most benefits from the buffs. Just know that at E0S1, Castris and Finon and finally Dots are the best teams here, to no one's surprise. And that's all for the version 3.7 of Anomaly Arbitration. Let me know if you think I missed a team or that you could use another unit in this fight. I don't know, I don't care.